So let's try and program this to understand why we actually need objects. Okay, so open up your NetBeans. So File, New Project. Okay, so for the main application, we're going to name the project name as test car. Finish it. Wait for a while. Okay, I'm just going to delete all this unnecessary stuff. Okay. Alright, so now this is called a main class. Whenever you see the word main with the argument string, this is called a main class. But my blueprint is not supposed to be a main class file. So a main class file can run. So notice the green thing here. So the green arrow, it shows that it can run. So it's a runnable file. But your class file does not run. It is a blueprint. So how do we do this? Right click and then go to new and create new Java class. So something will pop up here. Now your class name, you choose car. Now notice that I use capital letters. So capital letter because standard practice, which I still see a lot of students making mistake, they don't use capital letters. For class names, always use capital letters. It's just standard practice. So there you go. So you will get something like this, which is way different. Okay, not to say way different, but quite different than your original driver class or the main class. So notice this one has the main, this one does not have the main. So that's the main difference here. Alright, so if I were to design whatever that we discussed earlier, the blueprint would look something like this. So we said that we had properties, right? So let's say declaring the properties of the car. So we're supposed to have the car color and also the car make. So how do we do that? So we write, so what data types are they first? They're basically strings. So string, color, and that's it. The other one is string, what was that again? Make. Alright, so we have two properties in this case. We will talk about and deal with behaviors later. Now, before we move on, I want to also talk about something called the access modifiers or access specifiers. Now, in a class, whenever we're dealing with more than one class, we want to pass values from one class to the other class. Okay, so for security measurements or security reasons, we always do this. Private string. So private string. So the word private here has a certain meaning. So these are called access modifiers. So I just comment it here. So private is a modifier. Access is an access modifier, or sometimes you call it a specifier as well. Now there are a few more access modifiers. So let's go to Google it. So access modifiers in Java. Now it lets you know some of the things that it can do and cannot do. So let's see. Okay, this is one good example. So notice that if you use it as public, which is the most the ones that we have been using all this while, you will be able to, the variable will be able to go through any classes anywhere. So it can be accessed by anything. But if you use something called protected, then notice that for this particular part, so if it is not a subclass and it's outside of the package, you will not be able to access the variable. So your default value, if you don't put anything, there's no private, there's no protected, there's no public, that means it is visible from the same class or any class in the same package or a subclass in the same package. So if you put private, it is only accessible and visible from the same class. which means if you want to ever pass your values from one class to the other class, you have to go through a certain technique, which I will demonstrate later. Alright, so we have this for security measurements so that you do not simply change the variables of other classes accidentally. So let's go back to NetBeans. Okay, so that's the reason why I use private in this case. So if I were to use public, then anybody can change my values. Alright, so next part is creating a constructor. So creating a default constructor. Now let's say you already have a blueprint of a car in a company. Then what you have to do is that you have to create the car or manufacture the car, correct? So in Java, we have a way to simulate this as well. So we call it a constructor. So to create an object, you need to have a constructor.